Morning, Birds fans. For the final time here in 2022, you got Birds 365 with your Mac and Mac guys, John McMullen and Jody McDonald. J-Mac, busy day for you yesterday down there at NovaCare,
Yeah, man.
including a curveball that my partner did not see coming. Because you told me
No, I
yesterday
didn't.
you
I got a
did
lot
not
of
think.
I got a lot of spikes of the football about that, but I wouldn't be too sure that I'm ultimately wrong as far as the game goes. Um, I joked, I felt the dateline should have been Langley, Virginia yesterday. That's where the CIA is, for those who don't know. A lot of psyops going on, a lot of clandestine stuff going on with the Eagles. Nick Sirianni went heavy into the competitive advantage card. Yeah, I was surprised he even went down the road of um, practicing Jalen Hurts, and he did it in a limited fashion. But there were some signs that I wouldn't be so sure, Eagles fans who think because he was on the practice field, he's going to start on Sunday.
Well, question for you. What would make you say Nick Sirianni is the head of PsyOps? Haven't we been saying all along this was going to be an organizational decision that Jalen Hurts wasn't going to make it, Nick Sirianni wasn't going to make it, Howie Roseman wasn't going to make it? The team doctor is probably at the top of that list. No, by the way, they're all going to be in collaborative step to make this decision. You don't think anything changed, do you?
No, the psyop part of it is making New Orleans think they might see Jalen Hurts and that kind of nonsense, and that's Nick's purview, because he doesn't want people knowing who's going to start at right tackle. I mean, he flat out, we're not allowed. We know who's going to start at right tackle. We can't say he's going to start at right tackle. That's absolute stinking nonsense. But that's how deeply this team is rooted in competitive advantage, and they think they're going to get this huge advantage. So when it comes to the quarterback, we don't know who's going to start at quarterback. It could be Jalen Hurts, and you just talked about if he's healthy, he's going to play. But there were signs that he was not healthy, and that's what I'm talking about. Started with the ball security drills. As you go to practice, what the Eagles do, obviously you stretch and then you do some individual work with your different position groups. And Jalen was taking the first team reps in that individual work ahead of Gardner Minshew. And then you start the team drills. And we're in for a very short portion of this. And the first thing the Eagles do is these ball security drills, where basically all the guys who handle the football go through a gauntlet of coaches and staff and support staff with pads, and they have boxing gloves on sticks, and they whack them with the pads, and they hit them with the boxing gloves to try to obviously make sure their ball security is good. Jalen didn't participate in that. Always leads it. He's at practice. He didn't participate, and these are football pads, those little things that blockers go up against. And if he's not going through Shane Steichen and whacking him with a pad, how is he going through Cam Jordan and Demario Davis and Tyrann Mathieu on Sunday trying to whack that shoulder? That was the first sign. Second sign, they kind of mixed in Gardner Minshew with some early, and I don't even want to call them first team reps, but when they're working sort of with the running backs and things like that, just throwing the football a little bit. And then Dallas Goedert in the locker room, stuck to his guns. We don't know. And then he said, I think a second game will be better with Gardner. So I don't know if he slipped or if he meant to say it, or if it was just, it could have just been him ripping like we're ripping, Jody, and just it doesn't mean anything. But there were some signs. I wouldn't take it that he returned to practice, and we'll get more clarity today from both Nick Sirianni and the Eagles are supposed to make a quarterback available. So they might have taken it as long as they can take it. And if that quarterback's Gardner Minshew, it's probably going to be Gardner Minshew on Sunday.
Understood. He did not do a lot in practice. He did just enough to tease everyone and whet everybody's appetite and keep everybody guessing whatever competitive advantage they think they're going to have over the Saints by holding back the information for as long as they possibly can. If they want to play this game and actually think it gives them some kind of an advantage, more power to them. But the way that the practice went, the possibility of my out in left field, outside the box suggestion is still sitting out there as a possibility that Jalen Hurts could be active for the game, but be standing on the sidelines when the Eagles go out for their first possession with Gardner Minshew as their starting quarterback and the quarterback that you hope plays the entire game. And Jalen never comes off the sidelines. And the role that he serves is a safety net, that you only break the glass in emergency. And if you have to put him in, you put him in. But if you don't, he gets the entire week off. If he had not practiced at all, that would have been highly doubtful. If he had fully practiced and taken all the reps, well, then you know he's good enough. He's going to start. The fact that he partially participated in practice still keeps that open as a possibility.
Well, it might keep it open for you, Jody. It ain't open. It ain't in left field. It's out of the stadium. And by the way, on the last show of the year,
so you're going to roll with this again, John, after you said you doubted that he was going to practice yesterday. You're saying there is 0% chance that this happens.
I said, first of all, and it bothered, not you, but I said, I don't think he's going to practice.
Right.
And he did practice a little bit. I didn't report he wasn't going to practice. So a lot of fans get that misconstrued. However, yeah, I mean, feel free. I'm going to be here on Monday. Feel free to spike the football if that happens. Feel free. I mean, spike it 1,000 times because, yeah, I mean, do it. I'm telling you to do it. I'm also telling you there is no chance in hell the Eagles are going to do that. If he's ready to go, he's going to play. And if he's not ready to go, he's not going to play. And there's no world where they're saying, oh, if we need Jalen Hurts for 10 plays, 15 plays, there's no world where he can play 10, 15 plays, but he can't play 60. They're not going to do that. I know Nick Sirianni. He's not going to do that. He's not going to do that. He's not going to do that. I could say it 100 times. He's not going to do it.
The one thing that either you don't want to factor in, you're not factoring, or you're not accepting the possibility is he doesn't play. Let me get this part of my wacky theory out there. Best case scenario is he never sees the field. He is activated. He is in uniform. He never actually puts the helmet on, but he is there solely in case of an emergency. And Gardner Minshew starts and takes every single snap. If it's a blowout and the Eagles are up 35-7, Ian Book off the bench to take the last couple of snaps. And one of the 10 defensive linemen that the Eagles regularly dress on a Sunday could go down to 9 just to give Ian Book a roster spot. I'd activate all 3 quarterbacks just in case. My job is to protect Jalen more than anything else. But I need him just in case the game is sitting there as a 3-point game with 12 minutes to go and the Eagles are trailing, and I need to pull this game out and not have to worry about the last week of the season.
All right, now I'm going to say I respect your level of thinking. I respect your level of layering because I could see that scenario more than the first scenario. In other words, he ain't playing. But after going through what I went through yesterday, and by the way, when I say he ain't playing, if he's not starting, he's not playing. That's what I mean. So I got to make this very clear for people.
Right.
After I went through what I went through yesterday, would Nick go that far to try to fool the Saints into thinking, oh, Jalen Hurts is dressed on Sunday, he might play, Is he crazy enough to do that? Yeah, I could see that more than him playing and more him dressing as the emergency backup. I could see that. You would have to have a third quarterback dress because
Right.
you need a backup quarterback. Ian Book would need to dress because Ian Book would be the one coming into the game playing, even if they're losing, even if they need a touchdown late in the game and Gardner gets injured, it would be Ian Book coming into the game. So what I'm saying is, if he's not starting, he's not playing. That's what I'm saying. Now, is Nick? I just went through this nuttiness yesterday with, again, not only the quarterback, but uh, the right tackle, which, I mean, come on, right tackle. I mean, I get frustrated with that part of it from the Eagles' perspective.
But
And then there was even
give Sirianni credit. He's been consistent. He's done this since day one, since he took over as a coach, even a wet behind the ears head coach.
he
He's
has,
been a let me get that competitive advantage kind of guy, even if you roll your eyes at it. He's always done it this way since he took over.
He has, but he's gotten worse.
You think so?
But there's no question he's gotten worse. And by the way, he does these off the record things with us on Fridays. And ever since, by the way, the beat reporters, nobody's ever burned Nick Sirianni. Nobody's ever reported something that they weren't supposed to report or said was off the record. He got burned by a television crew when they do their pre-production and they have the meetings. So the TV guys get, who are doing the games, they get a meeting with the coaches beforehand, 20, 30-minute meeting. And they're a lot more liberal. Like, they don't seem to understand off the record means off the record. And he got burned once by TV people. And now he's taken it to this level that is ridiculous. And, there was also some hinky stuff going on with Miles Sanders, showing up on the injury report with a knee injury. And all of a sudden, Devin Allen's taking kickoff returns. So then my wheels are turning. What the heck is going on there? Because Boston Scott's been doing a great job as a kickoff returner. And then I start thinking, well, if Boston's got to play running back, maybe they want to take kickoffs away from him, not put that on the plate, and maybe they're going to elevate Devin Allen to return kickoffs. I don't know, but this is kind of the stuff that's going on there. And yeah, I mean, it's not only the Eagles, but the Eagles are taking this to a ridiculous level. And because I say this, sorry, Jody, real quick, last point. The Saints are preparing for Jalen Hurts. And I said this last week. And if you're prepared for Jalen Hurts, you're prepared for Gardner Minshew. It doesn't make any sense. And by the way, Nick says all the time, when we talk about Micah Parsons or players like that, or anybody or significant players, we worry about ourselves. We do what we do. We prepare because we think we're good enough. So do other teams. And he should know that.
Yeah, but other teams are 13-2. So you can.
Oh, he's got more talent.
Preparation is what is necessary, and if you are 13-2, you can throw your chest out a little bit more than a team that's 6-9. Even though they are still legitimately in the race for that division, they're also 6-9. Did the Eagles bring in anyone to practice, to work out, to look at the defensive back position, assuming that Maddox is going to be out for more than just these next 2 weeks?
No, the only player they brought in this week was, and I can't remember his name, which was weird. Cowboys,
Jarwin.
Blake Jarwin, yeah, old Cowboys tight end who's been injured, which is weird. They don't need a tight end in theory. Well, at least Jack Stoll has played pretty well on Dallas. Yeah, I don't want to overstate it, but he did a solid job, and Grant Calcaterra did a solid job and limited work. So I think that's probably more about off season and more about, hey, maybe after the season ends, maybe we'll bring in this guy. He can play a little bit if he's healthy. Maybe it's about that. But no, that's the only tryout player they had this week. They have guys. Remember, they have guys on the practice squad. They can elevate if they want to. Now, they only have one elevation because they have to elevate Brett Kern. He's not on the roster. And even though they didn't need, you need a punter, even though they didn't need a punter last week, you can't count on that each and every week. So they have to elevate Brett Kern. So they only have one other elevation to work with.
And who do you think would be that guy as of right now?
Well, I just mentioned Devin Allen. I'm not,
you don't think it would be a DB? They'd play a DB short.
No, I don't think it'll be a DB because, it could be Goodrich, Mario Goodrich. They elevated him once before. I think they think more of Josiah Scott than the fan.
Okay, so let me theorize here and see what you do as far as moving guys around. Josiah Scott goes down with a toe in the first quarter of the game. CJ Gardner-Johnson didn't practice yesterday. No sight of him. Highly unlikely he's going to be able to fill in and even play on Sunday. Job gets spots in the slot.
Well, I would think Zach would be before Zach McPherson.
Zach in the slot?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's his natural position anyway. I think he's a better slot player than he is an outside corner. You don't want to be in that position. I mean, obviously,
right.
the farther you go down the depth chart, the bigger issues you're going to have. But the point is, they do have bodies, and anytime you're down, you mentioned. So in this scenario, you're down Maddox, you're down Scott, you're already down CJ. You know that you're pretty down on the depth chart. I mean, you're not going to have a great solution, and by the way, Jody, you're not going to find a great solution in week 17, bringing them in, off the street. So you're going to go with your guys, and Zach McPherson would be the next man up. As you mentioned, Josh Jobe, they could bring up Goodrich because he's got more of a slot, presence. That's probably his best position as well. So, I mean, they're going to go with their guys. Yeah.
I know that Cravon LeBlanc's name got bandied about a little bit this week.
I love Cravon. By the way, that's one I never understood. There's certain players, and very nice guy. I mean, Cravon LeBlanc. There are certain players like the fan base latch on to. And like, if you look at Cravon's career after he left here, it's just a revolving door of, I mean, anybody who's in the NFL, I have tremendous respect for. So I think all these guys get too much. But if you think Cravon LeBlanc can play the Eagles slot position better than Josiah Scott, I mean, I can't help you. I can't help you.
I don't disagree. He has not been on a roster since November of 2020. So we're talking about over 2 years. There's a reason why he wasn't snapped up by other teams. He's not as good as some people make him out to be. I agree with you. I'm just throwing him out there as a name that has been mentioned. I'm not chiding you.
Oh, no, I saw it. I'm not. Yeah, I'm just. There are certain guys, and like the same way, the other way, there are certain guys the fan base can't stand. And it generally comes into guys who are maybe limited. Bob Groats, I'm taking my, we're going to have him. Hopefully, I forgot to text Bob last night, so hopefully he gets up. But, I'm trying to be nicer in the new year, my New Year's resolution. So I'm going to say any player, certain players are limited, obviously, in their skill set and things they can do. The more those limited players play, the more they get exposed. And that's when the fan base kind of turns on. The best recent scenario example of that is probably Nate Gary, who played a lot and was limited. He played because they needed him to play and probably shouldn't have been playing. And the fan base just despised him. And then there's guys who are kind of hidden but maybe make a play here and there. Kurban, when he came in, remember that was a bad situation. The Eagles were down 3-4, and that was New Orleans, by the way. They went in there. They didn't have a starting cornerback. It was Chandon Sullivan, I think, and Kurban, who was an undrafted rookie at the time, and they just got destroyed. Yeah, but there are certain, and Kurban's one of those guys they have latched onto and made out to be like he's this great player. It's weird.
Maybe it's the nickname Strap.
Strap is, but the nickname is part of it. Yeah, that's part of it.
They like his nickname. Anybody called Strap is a Philadelphia Eagle as far as we're concerned. So I get what you're trying to say there, Johnny Mac. All right, we're going to take a quickie timeout. We're going to get our first guest up. John's got to run for hour number 2, so Tone's going to be jumping in for me. And in hour number 2, we're going to get our very own Mikey Miss from the Eagles post-game show here on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel to jump in with us. But first things first, Mr. Positivity himself, Bob Groats, is going to join us next here on Birds 365.